we'll start with the American League. Okay.
Which league's that?
Kings.
Got it. All I need to know, it wasn't mine.
Yeah.
I'm ready.
That's a cold open. Got it. Welcome to everybody's favorite pod of the year, the 2025 Season 5 Predictions Podcast. I'm your host, Brian Hunter. It's my co-host, Quentin Meyer. And then the third member of our team, welcome back, Mr. Jason Worston-Home. Just 2 days away from whenever this is seen, right? That we're going to be starting games. Just 48 hours. So, how you guys getting excited? You guys ready to play this week?
Yeah. Ready to go?
I'm ready to go too. Before we get into everything and what we're gonna talk about, first let's talk about festivities that are going to be going on opening day. We're looking at 11 o'clock for anybody who wants to join us. We'll be going to Top Golf there in Chesterfield. Spend a couple hours there, have a good time, hang out. After that, we're going to be heading down to Lit Cigar Lounge just to kind of visit, one of our sponsors, have a good time. Then we're going to spend the rest of the afternoon before we head to the field over at Four Hands right there at the District in Chesterfield. So if you're available, come on out. You can hit me up, hit Q up. He'll be off work. Cam, obviously, will have his phone on. Jason will be there sooner or later. We don't know. Probably closer to game time at the ballpark, by the way he's responding and shaking his head right now. But, no, come on out and have a good time. So, let's get into the fun stuff here. Obviously, a couple weeks ago, we know that the power rankings came out. Just to kind of give an idea of the people that are watching that don't know how our power rankings get figured out. All of the front office ranks 1 through 8 where we feel like each team is on paper, quote unquote, right? So all those scores get averaged together and we come out with our yearly power rankers. So with that being said, let's dig in. So starting at number 8 are the Kings. Ken Bone takes over as manager of the team. Nick steps into the on-field captain. Obviously they re-signed Justin Hall, Dustin Hitchcock, Jacob Keller. Paul Pugh got added in free agency, which, that's always great to see. With the draft pick, they had the first 1-1, 1-5, and 2-2. They took Josh Wheeler, James Dobb, and Drew Ballman. So, with that being said, ranked number 8. How do we feel about it, Q?
Honestly, I disagree with it already. They have a good rotation with Justin, Josh, and Nick, and with a good hitting with Jake Keller and Dustin Hitchcock. People tend to forget that Dustin Hitchcock is a very good hitter, just had a down year. But the question with this team is just how good the pitching and hitting is in this league. Can they keep up with some of these top teams in the league?
Yeah, I'm kind of on the same boat, except I did have them at number 8. And the only reason for that is that you are looking at a team that was bottom 2 last year. Obviously, the Melonheads, my team, has improved, and I think they've improved as well. But really, the big question mark is this rookie class that they brought in, is it enough? Is it enough to get out of that bottom end? And honestly, in this league, the teams are getting so good, question marks alone kind of put you in that lower end. And I think that's always kind of been reflected in the power rankings. The teams with the most question marks tend to get lower ranks because it's just you don't know what you're going to get. And, someone like James Dobb, who is a great hitter, but we've traditionally seen hitting to take some time in MO WIFF to get started. So a team that didn't score a whole lot of runs last year, where are those runs going to come from when you have 2 rookies that are going to be a heart and soul of your lineup potentially? You're going to look for somebody to step up and step up quick if they want to not end up where this power ranking is.
For sure. I had them voted at 8 because bottom line, kind of same long lines as you. Somebody's got to be 8, right? There's 8 teams. It's just going to happen naturally. So for me, when you look at the bottom 3 teams that, that I've had on my own personal vote, you could swap them out interchangeable and have the same questions around it. But where I'm kind of sitting at as we talk about the rookie class, obviously Wheeler may be the hardest working person that came out of this class, but until he gets between the lines on a weekend basis, not just a one-day tournament where, during pool play you're getting Joe Schmo, and then first round you're actually seeing somebody, decent. Now every damn night you're going against somebody, and can he kind of push through, or does he? or can he have a Dom style rookie year to where just burst on the scene and delivered from day one? That's going to kind of be one of the biggest questions for me. But like you said, adding Dobb, gets him that bat. Can Hitchcock bounce back? And does Justin continue to improve? I mean, that's my question.
Yeah, we've seen two different versions of Hall. So
right. So I mean, I got to see him firsthand. During our little scrimmage we had a couple weeks ago. They look good. Don't get me wrong. But
it's just a tough league.
The question is does that translate from the beginning?
Yeah. I do want to say before we move on, we're forgetting about Nick Bone as well. Nick Bone's been an all-star before.
Yep.
And he's been a good pitcher and a good hitter. So that's someone else to look out for, kind of a veteran. If Nick Bone, I would say, does need to step up to propel this team into where I had them in the 6th spot. So now we can move on.
All right. Bringing in number 7, we got the Mambas. Jason, I'll let you start.
This one I did not have at 7. I believe I had them at 6. And the only reason I had them even this low is just it kind of goes back into what I said about the Kings. But I think that their question marks, the guys they added in the draft, I don't think they take off weeks. Those guys have been playing tournaments every weekend, it seems like, for months. I keep seeing Instagram posts and different things of those CI prospect guys traveling all over the country playing some of the best competition. So to me, they're rookies, but they're not. And that's where you might see them click a little faster. And so you're talking about guys that are tournament quality players being added to a team with Cole, who is top 1 hitter in the league, maybe, so, I mean, you could definitely make the argument there. So that's where it's kind of hard to say that they're not a playoff team when you've got guys that seem like right out of the gate that they are going to be able to compete. I think, honestly, the biggest difficulty for the Mambas is going to be the question you keep getting asked, but it needs to actually probably be pointed more at Cole, is how is he going to make those tough decisions between these new CI prospects guys and these other guys that have played on his team for 2-3 seasons. Right. When it comes down to it and you gotta win games, how are you going to make those choices? And that could be the difference maker. Does he make the tough call, or does he maybe bat somebody extra and then they kill a rally because of it? You never know, and in this league it could be that close. 1 or 2 games don't fall your way because you batted one too many guys. You never know. And so I think it could come down for them how Cole handles this roster. But I think it's hard to say that they aren't a playoff team when you've got tournament quality players right off the bat and somebody like Cole in your lineup every week.
Right. And so, kind of going over before we get to UQ, sorry,
yeah,
we never went over the roster or anything, but obviously Cole comes back, as the captain. Wow, that left my brain there for a minute. Sorry, Cole. James Dutton returns. Alex Eggert returns. Parker Bunch returns. And then, like we talked about, they draft the heart and soul of the CI prospects team in Chandler Melton, Caden Rice, and Falcon Pearson. Mm-hmm. So, yeah.
Yeah, I mean...
So how are you feeling about number 7, Q?
I like him at number 7. I think that's where I had him. According to Cole, they're going to be full-time this season. If they can make it full-time, Caden and Chandler, to my knowledge, I don't know much about Falcon if he has a national experience. I do know Caden and Chandler have that national experience. If they can adjust to the travel and being relied on week in and week out, they may play every weekend, but on top of being able to travel, and, this league is no pushover. We have talent on each team up and down the roster.
Yep.
But with Dutton and this lineup, with Cole, Chandler can rake, they don't have that solid second pitcher. I think every team, except maybe one, has that solid second pitcher. You could look back to years like year 2 and maybe year 3, where you go up against a team and they have their stud, their ace. That guy, maybe we could sneak it, but we know we can beat that number 2 guy. Not many teams in this league have that anymore, and I think they're one of these teams that kind of be like, okay, well, we're going to get Dutton. We can maybe beat Dutton, but we know we have a better chance against their number 2 guy. But Dutton is our ace, chemistry in the lineup already. Do look for this team to sneak into a playoff spot.
Right. I'm going to disagree with you a little bit. I mean, I had them at my 6. Is where I had them as well. I just realized I don't have mine.
You didn't write your own.
I wrote my own. I just don't have it in front of me right now. Gonna have to pull that up. But the thing that's going to be about it is you get somebody like Falcon, right? That or Caden to where or hell, even Chandler. You know, at the MO WIFF Classic, Chandler never pitched before. Now he's put that work in. What does he look like? Caden. I haven't seen much of Caden. I've admitted that from the beginning, but everybody's been talking highly of him. But then you get somebody like Falcon, who's just a sponge, and going to be up there as many nights as they are. Probably show up a little early, get to hang out with some of the talent, kind of ask some questions and stuff. How do they translate that? So I mean, legitimately, where beginning first couple weeks, maybe it's not as good as what it could be, but by the end of the season, they could be somebody that could be that could, you know, in that American League, it could be a problem. I mean, that's just kind of my 2 cents. All right, so moving on to number 6, we got the Bombers, Cam's team. So, you know, we got Cam Smith, Jake Welnick, Ethan Weiner, Tommy Dwyer, Johnny Gunn, the free agent acquisition, since we now talk about it, Michael Dobb, and also the free agent acquisition of Barrick. Damn it. All right. Alex Barrick and everything. Then obviously they draft Ben Doolin. So with that, Q, how are you feeling about the Bombers?
You know, despite making the semis last year, Cam being the Cy Wiffle, the second pitching spot is now being filled by Ben Doolin, but how much will Ben Doolin be there? You know, Johnny is still kind of I'd say a raw talent in this league. You know, when it comes to NWA, he's the best there is. But MO WIFF is different. You know, higher pitch speed, longer distance, bigger bats. You know, I'd say better talent than the 2024 NWA. Ethan Weiner, the best hitter last year, he's now moving back to part-time as well. And with the division being super stacked with teams like the Thunderbirds, Melonheads, and the Purge, can Cam carry the load of this team for that many weeks until the Cavalry arrives? I also had them at my number 8 team. They were my last team this year.
Yeah, I had them at 7, and it was for a lot of, you know, kind of what you said there is, you know, I think that game 2 is a big question mark, and like I said about, you know, kind of with the Kings, the teams with the most question marks tend to be your bottom couple teams, and that's how I looked at it. You know, the only reason I had the Bombers above the Kings is that Cam can go out there and pitch the innings limit if he has to. And if he does that, he's going to steal a lot of wins. Yeah. You know, and that's the one thing that Cam's got going for him is he has that ability that when it's crunch time down the stretch, he can go out there and just keep throwing. So his health is going to be very important to this team, which is, you know, in the last couple of years has been up and down for him, and he's battled through a lot of stuff. You know, so if he has to battle that and, you know, potentially battle even making the playoffs, I think there's a lot of question marks there. I think Cam can do it. He's shown he can do it. But at the same time, you know, it's one of those things. In the world of what MO WIFF is today, does Cam down the stretch become too little too late? Does he try to develop a second pitcher in the start of the season and then says, oh, we got to start winning games, but now other teams are just, the record's better. Is it too little too late? And that's why I had them at 7 outside of the playoffs.
I had them at 7 as well, and we'll get into the playoff talk a little bit here in the next segment or two. But I had them at 7 as well because it's the same kind of thing. Now, obviously, you have to put respect on the name of being the reigning Cy Wiffle, right? But we've seen the last time Cam won the Cy Wiffle, you know, the next year he started having the arm issues. Now, they weren't directly correlated to each other. I fully understand that, so let's preference that. But still, you know, that's got to be something that can potentially be there. I don't want to harp too much on the health aspect of everything, just because, you know, I don't want to put that bad juju out there on nobody.
Well, you can't predict injuries.
Correct. But at the same time, and I've said it before, Cam Smith can still be one of the best pitchers on the planet any given night. So if it comes down to it to where somebody's got to grab the bull by the horns and grit and grind it, there's nobody better on that roster to do it than Cam. Now, with that being said, if Johnny continues uses the confidence that he got towards the end of the season, and then through NWA, if he comes in, he's a very valuable number 2. And then hell, Tommy Dwyer was 1 inning away from pitching the Bombers to a division title. I mean, in the final start of the season. So with that, you know, it's one of those things to where the pitching's there. But when Ben Doolin shows up, it's lights out. It's going to be that proverbial 1-2 punch. In kind of my opinion. So kind of keeping the arms fresh until Cavalry arrives for when it does, that's going to be the fun thing to kind of watch for me.
Yeah, I think the Bombers' key to the season is they need someone to step up.
Yep.
You know, I think Cam can carry, but if they get someone to step up and step up early, they have a chance. But like I said, I think for me, it's the question marks, and that's what's tough.
And I think it's going to be more. It's going to be also on the batting side.
Yeah.
The batting side of it, because I mean, Cam and Ethan, they're both can hit. Tommy can run into one. Johnny
Step
won
up.
step up both offensively and on the mound.
Yeah.
All right, so that brings us to number 5. We got the Purge here at number 5, which this surprised me a little bit, but at the same time, I'll share my feelings a little later. Tom Wilkerson still the captain. Pat Ballman returns. Greg Thornton returns. Colin Wilkerson, Caleb Schweigert, they return. They go out and draft, Zach Gunn, Blake Hoffman, John Satrowski. So, Jason, what you got? How you feeling about it?
Yeah, I mean, I feel like the Purge have been criminally underrated here. And a big part of what I think about for these teams as far as, how they're going to finish the season and where they rank and things like that, I mean, I think about it on a week in and week out basis. Being above 500 means sweeping the night. Who's got the best chance to sweep the night than somebody that has Colin, Caleb, Pat, Blake Hoffman? I mean, they've got they're 4 arms deep of guys that, if they pitched full time, could be Cy Wiffle. Now, obviously, with 4 guys, they're going to cycle them in, so, we can talk about that Cy Wiffle later. But, you've got 4 guys that have that caliber of pitching. Yep. So on a week in and week out basis, it's hard to say that they're not going to win games. And so to me, I have a hard time, putting them low because pitching wins games, and I think that they've got a lot of proven arms. The biggest question mark for them is where's the offense going to come from? But, I mean, I think we've seen Colin and Caleb slowly developing into hitters. I mean, they've done it on the national stage. It's only a matter of time before they clicks at MO WIFF, and they're doing it. So, I mean, I don't know. I think – and then they added Gunn in the draft. So, I mean, that's another guy. Once again, rookies take a little bit of time. But, that's the thing is you've got some guys there that – they're knocking on the door of being good hitters, but you've got guys that can pitch shutouts every single time. So that's where, I feel pretty confident that that's a solid roster.
Honestly, I agree with pretty much everything you said, but I did have him at this 5 spot. And I say that because pitching is, there's not many, probably maybe 2 tops that have, I'd say, a better rotation than the Purge. Caleb and Colin, probably the best 1-2 punch in the league. But, again, the hitting. I mean, you are leaning on 2 guys in Caleb and Colin that have still yet to prove themselves. You look at other teams, especially, these next 4 teams in this ranking, they have guys that have already proven themselves, have already been in conversations of awards. And I think that's where I have the Purge at 5, is can they make the jump to elite hitters? Absolutely. All it takes is one good week and a small adjustment and you're there. But they haven't made that leap yet. They have no one on that roster that has made said leap already. That's why I had him here.
Yeah, I mean, when it comes to mine, I make the comment that it surprised me, but at the same time, I look at my own rankings. I had them at number 5. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, that's kind of where they sit. But, I mean, it's solely, again, on the offensive side of the ball. If these boys hit or come in and start hitting, I mean, literally watch the F out. That is a nightmare of a gauntlet to go through.
It's not a bad number 5.
Oh, hell no, it's not a bad number 5.
Well, and that's what we said earlier. Look how deep this league. You're talking about potentially 4 Cy Wiffle candidates being on a team ranked 5.
I mean,
if you're pushing for a playoff spot, what is it, the 6th spot you're looking for there? I mean, jeez.
Right.
In my opinion, 2 through 5, you could throw darts at a wall and not be wrong. With these power rankings the way they came out, in all reality, because we can make the same arguments for everybody. But I think we start going. All right, experience and proven talent. I mean, in my thing, and I mean that's just my 2 cents. All right, now coming in number 4, we got the Purge.
You just did the Purge.
Not the Purge. My goodness gracious, got the Archers. So Captain Rory Rank comes out for his 2nd year's captaincy. Tony Cochran returns. Josh Richardson returns. Ethan Bailey returns. Brad Sterneman returns. They go out and draft James Klein with the 3rd overall pick. They pick up Drew Maurer with the first pick in the 2nd round. And then, the proverbial dark horse, if you will, Mr. Irrelevant, Coulter Rance.
Mm-hmm.
Q, how are we feeling about him?
I mean, I had him at 4 as well. I really like this team this year, honestly. I think, they're better this year than they were last year on paper at this current moment. Obviously, Jordan, 2-time MVP, 2-time Cy Wiffle, Silver Slugger. You know the awards by now. But they drafted James Klein, now one of the hardest throwers in MO WIFF. He's 17 years old now, topped out at 98 miles per hour on a riser, has thrown a screwball 92 miles per hour. I mean, there's not a lot of guys in the league, let alone the country, that can do that at a consistent basis.
Well, we know Q's Rookie of the Year pick.
And in that Rookie of the Year pick, I'll get to why I picked a player. But, you have James as well as Tony Cochran, who was lights out in the playoffs. The only real blemish he had was losing to the Mojo in Game 1 of the Championship Series, 1-0 off a solo shot in the 1st inning. Drew Maurer, who's put very good stuff on tape, and then Coulter, who I have not seen the film, but I have heard that he's very, very good. They have a solid rotation, and with an elite hitter in Rory. Rory is one of the top hitters in the league. The one question I have here is, can someone other than Rory produce the consistent hits? We know Tony can hit, and J-Rich can hit, but people have exploited the weakness of that they'll swing at dang near anything you throw at them. So that's my big question. Can they produce the consistent hits?
So, I agree. I agree wholeheartedly. I had him ranked number 3 just because of experience, not only in this league, but in the national circuit as well. But when it comes to MO WIFF, you can only keep the hunger at bay for so long. And knowing the fact that the Archers have gone to the championship now 2 years in a row and walked away empty-handed with nothing but a high five and a good luck, see you next year kind of thing. That I know the competitor that Rory is playing for him, and I mean, you can't tell me, and he can sit there and say, "Oh no, we're coming in clean." No, screw that shit.
Oh yeah,
plain and simple. He's got his sights set.
Oh yeah,
on championship or bust. Losing Jordan can hurt, obviously, what you said, but I agree. On paper, they upgraded. They upgraded tremendously with being deeper than they've ever been. Obviously, Bailey being part-time, having to rely on him to pitch and so on and so forth. They don't need that right now. With when they have somebody like, James, and when they have somebody like Coulter, how many weeks does he show, kind of thing. But if James is going to be there every week and you got Rory and Tony, I mean, that rotation, I mean, depth is key. The question comes down to me is that depth as good as what the Mojo, Melonheads, and Thunderbirds have?
Yep.
So, with that said...
You completely skipped Jason.
Oh, my goodness.
I don't
I'm so sorry. No,
I didn't want to talk about the Archers anyways.
My bad. Hey.
I got nothing good to say about Rory, so... No, I actually had the Archers at 5. But I mean, like we've said, it's so hard to pick the differences between these teams. Obviously, I think that they've got the pitching, but I mean, once again, Tony has been very solid, but he's also shown, a lot of up and down in his, his ability to make it through a season. So then the other 2 options they have on paper are 2 young pitchers who have never thrown in MO WIFF. And, you're kind of, you just never know. I have the fear with rookies a lot of times that they're going to go out there and throw their arm out. And I would hate to see that happen to anybody in this league. And so I guess the question for me is, how do they work that rotation? What did they get out of Drew Maurer that they got in the 2nd round? I mean, I think his tape looked great, but I've never seen him in person. I don't know what he's going to look like against a MO WIFF lineup. I think James will be just fine. Like you said, he can go out there and deal against anybody. But, I mean, I don't know. I'm just kind of, and then the question marks about the lineup as well. Rory was there with Jordan in the lineup and they couldn't score. Now without Jordan in the lineup, I don't know, man. I just had him at 5, but once again, you're splitting hairs at this point. And for me, I chose a team like the Purge, who I felt like had proven flamethrowers 1, 2, 3.
Right.
Over an Archers team that's got for sure 1 and then some solid 2 pitchers on paper. I mean, it's
Good.
splitting hairs.
You make a good point. Yeah, I agree with what you said there. All right, number 3. That brings us to your Melonheads.
My Melonheads.
Yeah. Your team, the Melonheads, you know that you're the captain of.
Oh.
Obviously, Jason
know
comes
that.
back as the captain for what? This will be year 5 as a captain, so that's awesome.
Been here since the OG days.
Jimmy Stout,
OG vet.
Spencer Bogad, Tony Saggio, the unretired now Sam Eichenlaub. In free agent, he just goes out and adds 2 little names, and Jordan Smith and Ryan O'Rear.
Who are those guys?
Right. And then in the draft, they take Bryson Livingston. So, Q, we'll let you go first this one. So,
I mean, yeah, they have a great rotation, proven hitters. On top of having championship experience with the title in 2023, I mean, the question is, can the Melonheads' arms all stay healthy and, for a lack of a better term, energized throughout a season without running out of gas come playoff time? We've heard from Jordan. He said in 2023, when he was the best pitcher in the league and it wasn't even close, that championship against the Melonheads, he didn't have anything left in the tank.
yeah.
I mean,
That's what I'd say too.
yeah. I mean, you've dealt with injury. Bogad's dealt with injury. Ryan O'Rear has a career ERA of like 2.4. I'm sorry?
No,
You making fun of me?
No, he got what I said after.
I comprehend. I just comprehended what he said.
But, now I've lost my train of thought.
No, you're talking about the ERA.
Yes,
you're talking about
Ryan
ERA.
O'Rear has like a career ERA of like 2.48. Now you're relying on O'Rear. If you have injuries, O'Rear, Eichenlaub, and then Saggio once again. This team obviously is a championship contender, but how long can they stay healthy? And that's just the biggest question for me.
Yeah, I mean, I'll go then you go here since it's your
Yeah.
team. But I mean, and this is where this is going to get fun because the top 3 teams are our 3 teams. But you've proven to be an emotional player, and what I mean by that is the fact that if you're having a good time, got something to fight for, there's nobody else. There's nobody that's going to get in your way. You're going to be a tough at bat every time. So, with that said, as long as you guys have something to play for and you guys are in the hunt, I have no problems with you guys being in that 3 hole. But I think that team is going to live through you and die through you as well. So I mean, they've proven the fact you guys are a cohesive unit. So if your energy level goes low, there goes low. The next thing you know, do we have the same issue we had last year? Where people don't show up. That's I would say the biggest thing. Does that potentially happen? Now, do I think it's going to happen that way? Hell no. All right. In all reality, because when everybody's there, it's going to be one of those things. It's like I'm looking at the schedule going, I don't want to play you, but I have to play you 3 times in the division because that's just kind of how it's go. But obviously adding to the top 2 free agents of the last year's class, hands down, without batting an eye or even making a phone call, it sounds like. Just text messages and video sending. That's all it takes.
Send the right video.
But then the less of it, Bryson. How does
Can I see that video later?
How does Bryson fit into the fold, and how does he make an impact from day one?
Yeah, I mean, everything you guys are saying is true, and I actually put us at 4 for a lot of these reasons. I think that I look at our roster, and we may be the 1 or 2 exceptions in the entire league that can say we don't need lights out pitching week in and week out.
Right.
Because we've got 3 or 4 guys on our roster who have shown that on a consistent basis we can hit anybody. And so I think I think it's hard to compete with that to some extent. But like I said, I had us at 4 because, Jordan has shown that he's a great pitcher, but we've also all expressed that we're going to keep people fresh for the playoffs, like you said, because we feel like we are a playoff team. So we're going to play to win, but we're going to play smart too. Yep. And that might cost us some games here and there. But also at the same time, I don't think we have a bona fide, as it sits right now, 2 that can go out there and say, hey, I'm going to win every time I pitch. And, and when you're talking about, in your ranking 2 or 3 here, you're talking about teams that should win more often than not.
I do rank
2. So, I mean, when you're talking about teams that should be winning more often than not, not having a 2 pitcher that's lights out, that could be a small problem, once again, splitting the hairs. But there is a bit of the fear of what happened last year in me, but I also see it as, to some extent, when you have, this is kind of the mojo problem that people were afraid of. When you have this many guys, so many part-time guys, are people going to show up fresh?
Right.
If Sam Eichenlaub is only playing 5 games this year and he plays week 1, that's what he agreed to show up to 5.
Okay.
But he has softball on the same night. So he said if we need him, he'll show up. But I mean, at the same time, let's say we don't need him that often. So he shows up week 1, middle of the year, end of the year. Well, you haven't seen a lot of pitching in that time.
Right.
So, keeping yourself fresh even when you're not showing up could be a big question mark. I mean, Ryan O'Rear has, he's about 4 hours away. So there's going to be times that he has to work on Friday and he's not going to make the trip. Can he stay up to speed when he's not able to come for maybe 2 or 3 weeks? Right. Or maybe he can't make it a week and we're off 2 weeks. It's kind of when we had that old struggle of, oh man, I haven't played in a month. Like every now and then that happens in a season, a rain out or something happens and you don't play for a month. That could be the struggle the Melonheads see this year, is that there could be laps for some players where they don't play often enough. We're now down Saggio for the first 4 or 5 weeks. So that's a potential depth piece to our arms. I had my surgery. I don't see that I could pitch in the first couple weeks because of that. So it does then say, okay, well, you really quickly start chopping people off there, and it does. It adds some question marks, and you're splitting hairs at this point. So yeah, I had us at 4 though.
Yeah. Okay. We get to number 2, which would be my Thunderbirds. Obviously, I take over as a new captain there, which I'm very excited about.
You did?
I did. We're gonna.
How are you going to handle the tough?
I was going to
say it too. But
we're all on the
obviously,
same page here.
Obviously, the entire roster from last year is coming back. Andrew Nichols, Dom Satrowski, Spencer Foss, John Willenbrink, Josh Rogers, Mark Vogler, and then we added a little-known small-town Arizona boy from in Brody Livingston with the 2nd overall pick in that first round. I'll go last. Who wants to go first there?
I'll go first here.
He's happy about what he wrote, so let's let him go. Let's let him go.
The Thunderbirds now have an elite rotation with Spencer, Brody, Dom, and then Andrew. But as much as elite pitching and a solid lineup go, it's the coming up in the big moments, the clutch moments, that is just as crucial to winning a championship, because you have championship aspirations. I would hope so. Does the lack of being clutch affect this team? And I'm going to reference the 2022 playoffs. Thunderbirds won the division. Got bullied or memed into starting Tony.
That's what he smiled about.
Yep. Into starting Tony when
he wasn't healthy.
When he wasn't healthy, and they had him scouted more than a deer. 2023. They were up 1-0 in a series where they beat Caleb, who was the best pitcher, one of the best pitchers in the league, and then won National Rookie of the Year. They were 1-0 in a series where they beat him 3-0, and they blew that. Last year, they were up 1-0.
My God, you did your research.
I did do my research. Okay. They were up 1-0 on the Archers, where games 1 and 2 they didn't even have Jordan, and they blew all 3 of those series. 2 of those years where they were the higher seed. Well, I think they were the higher seed last year too, weren't they? They were the 4 seed, weren't they? So all 3, I think all 3 years, if I'm correct, all 3 years they were the higher seed.
Either way, they were winning after the first game of the series and then blew the second 2.
And they blew it. Yep. I think that's the question. Can the Thunderbirds this year be clutch? Under new management, yes, but can they just be clutch? That's all they need.
Well, I would say that my shot back at you there is you're clutch until you're not, or you're not clutch until you are. You know, and so but at the same time, I think
they prove it.
I think the power rankings for me, I had them at 2. This is the first time I think I've agreed with the power rankings. Is the Thunderbirds at 2, and it just does come back down to you've got 3 really good young arms who they just want to get better. Yep. Really, I think the biggest question mark for them comes that lineup. But I think that they've got guys that are showing they're putting the work in, and they've shown they can take that next step. It seems like once Brody arrives, this team is going to solidify themselves as that 2, because I think he'll put a calming presence in that lineup with his experience and his abilities, and then that'll just make things for Spencer, Dom, and whoever else he decides to put in his lineup. It'll just calm everything down and make it that much easier to play. And honestly, when you got guys like they have, as long as they throw strikes, Spencer and Dom, it only takes one. and that's not always the best scenario, but the Purge last year won their division with that exact same mindset, and I think the Thunderbirds are better than that, so, I just, it's hard to, not put them at 2 with this lineup and this roster.
Yeah, I put us at 4, actually, because of
So you're like me.
Well, I put it for the exact concerns of...
Jeez, I'm really going to look like crap on this next one, then.
Oh, yeah, you're going to look real bad.
It's okay. I'll explain why.
But my whole philosophy with it, and I have nothing but faith in my team, right? Coming into play. But with how I've made comments about how this season is going to be a sprint, not a marathon, does Brody coming in, a little bit later into the year, is it potentially too late? That's just a question mark. It's rhetorical. And then at the same time, do Dom and Foss take that next step forward and not fall into a sophomore slump? Do I think that's going to happen? No, because I'm watching these boys put the work in. Right. So, I mean, seeing the work of where we've had other sophomores that have taken a step back, they've said it on this pod. I haven't even touched on Wiffle Ball. I'm still a couple weeks away from XYZ. Well, you're not getting better by not doing it. Mm-hmm. And, people are out there proving the fact they want it more than you do. So, I mean, that's where Dom and Spencer kind of come into it. I mean, hell, Brody, as much as he was throwing bullpens just working on 56 and under pitches the other day. Mm-hmm. And I was like,
right.
I was getting excited kind of watching it. The other thing is and I mean reference to the clutch because you're 100% right. Brody's proven the fact he can do it. Mm-hmm. I've proven the fact I can run into one when the time's needed. Obviously, I'm a free swigger. We all know that. I'm not saying any way, shape, or form I'm the glue that's going to fix that hole. But at the same time, that presence and that confidence is in me. Mm-hmm. I know definitely it's in Brody. And then when it, but the thing is, it's like having Rogers being there part-time because he's coaching his son's baseball team. We don't know how many weeks he's going to be there. And then me still on the mend. Do we hurt or help the team? Mm-hmm. That's everything to why I put us at 4.
We've completely gone this entire time without mentioning Andrew Nichols. He's also on this team who's a tremendous hitter, top player in the league, and we're going to have him step back from the rotation as well a little bit. But I mean, you got a guy like him. Yeah. I mean, Nichols, Brody, you're not asking that much.
That was going to be my closer. I know not.
It's not on his notes though. That's why I cut him off. I wanted to make sure Andrew got mentioned there though, because I gave him props last time I was here too. So I just wanted it to. I didn't want to leave with that, and I was like, wait a minute,
forget you, Andrew.
Andrew's still a very good player.
I didn't forget.
I was going to say the fact that when come playoff time and you got to go righty lefty against my lineup, and 2 of the best left-handed bats in the country, that's going to be fun.
Yep.
That's how it's going to end it.
That's how it's going to end it. I'm fired up.
Yeah, let's go.
Hope that's a TikTok.
Flip the table.
Flip the table with number 1, your reigning champs. And we have Q as their bench player.
I am the bench player.
Yep. But the Mojo take the number one spot. I think it was damn near unanimous. I mean, there was a couple people that voted. I think there was one person didn't vote them number 1 overall.
And I think he plays on the team.
Yeah, I think he probably plays on the team too. But we love the humble pie out of that. Obviously, they're running it back. Their entire roster comes back as well. Where'd they go? Oh, there they are.
We don't exist.
No. So, obviously, Doug is the manager captain. Skibby's the field general. Sam Skibby's the field general. You got Gus, Quentin, Jackson Crosley, Connor Jaso, Blake, and Brett Spencer. And then, obviously, we've talked about it. We're drafted Ray with the 10th overall pick in the first round this year, Connor's uncle. So, Jason, I want to hear you.
I'll take this away. I mean, I like you said, it was pretty much unanimous that they were one for anybody with a brain. So I mean, it's kind of one of those things that if you look at the teams, I mean, they're number 1 until someone proves otherwise.
I guess they've mixed match socks not to have them.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know what you got to do, but no, the Mojo are clearly the number 1. You just got done winning the championship, and that was with Connor Jaso showing up for 3 games. Yes. So I mean, if Connor Jaso if Connor Jaso shows up and plays like we're being told he's supposed to, I mean, that's pretty tough. I mean, obviously they can hit, obviously they can pitch. Sam Skibby doesn't even have to throw hard to pitch well. I mean, that's the thing, and he doesn't though. I mean, the guy. I mean, he's 56 and under's nasty. He's got so many pitches. He's one of those guys that when I'm hitting, I'm never comfortable because I can never figure out what's coming because he's got 10 different pitches, right. So I mean, you're talking about that as your number 2. He's making it work. very well. And so, I mean, really, I guess the only question mark you ever have with the Mojo is how often are certain players going to show up and how is that going to impact the team? But other than that, I mean, if you show up with, Sam and Jaso 14, 15 games of the season, you'll be just fine regardless of who the other 2 or 3 in the lineup are.
Yeah, I mean, I've got 2 notes. Reigning champs, same team back in the fold. Not showing any wear and tear of wearing down anytime soon. Second one, again, to like you said, if Jaso's truly going to be here 16, 17 weeks out of the year, shit. Period. I mean,
exclamation point.
The whole league on notice. The minute he shows up more than once, and because when he shows up, he's going to show out. Mm-hmm. It's going to be one of those things where it's you got to take your best swing, and you better knock them out. To leave them in the game, leave you guys in the game. They're going to find a way to win. Kid? Yeah.
The Mojo, they had an 11-3 record without the number 1 ranked pitcher in MO WIFF, according to the captains. If you want to go watch that episode, it was the Sam Skibby.
Oh.
Because he, yeah. The Sam Skibby's strength of schedule and pitcher rankings. Go watch that podcast if you haven't already. With a rotation of Connor, Gus Skibby, Jackson Crosley, Sam Skibby, and then, Brett Spencer, who was a Cy Wiffle candidate year 1. This is debatably the best rotation in the league. With a lineup of 8 guys who all have the ability to hit a pitcher 2-3 times a night, this team has the makings of a back-to-back campaign, but the Mojo did have a lot of, clutch moments last year, there was a home run off Caleb late in week 3. The walk-off against the Mambas in week 8. The game-winning sacrifice fly against the Thunderbirds in week 11. The go-ahead home runs against the Bombers in the regular season and in the playoffs. And the clutch pitching as well as Jackson Crosley's hitting in the championship series. And the Gus Skibby home run. Can the Mojo replicate the Mojo magic? That's, it's not availability. Yeah, Mojo magic. It's not availability, because we've shown time and time again, especially last year, we've played with 3 guys and we've won. We've played with 4 and we've won. We've played with 7 and we've won. Obviously, availability is a big thing. You can't play with 3 players every night, But it's more of, it takes a lot to win a championship. It takes being clutch. It takes players showing up, showing out. You can roster 8, you can play 8, but can all 8 players play well? That's just a big question for me, is the Mojo magic.
So I'll throw to end this part here with Jaso being there every week, and this is just a hypothetical, not hypothetical, rhetorical question. Does it affect the family atmosphere you guys have built? I'm not asking. It's just a thought.
Don't answer it. It's just out in the world.
It's just a thought to be there, because in fact that's a true potential statement. So. I'm not saying the answer.
Comment down below if you think yes or no.
There we go. There we go.
Tune into MO WIFF to find out. On the next episode of MO WIFF.
It's like a soap opera. Oh, man.
Fades to black and white. We're all just frozen.
These are the days of our lives.
I know.
My mom used to watch that stuff all the time.
On this episode of
we're getting off topic here.
No, we're not.
But I mean, I think we got some good solid points, and I mean, some positives and negatives for pretty much everybody. And the best part about it is, I mean, looking back on it, I said I was going to do it and tally it up to figure out. There was only a handful of predictions that were made last year. I mean, kind of as we go into this next segment here, that were correct. And I mean, it's going to be one of those things to kind of look and see how correct we are on some of the statements that we made here tonight. Hopefully we're sitting here at the end of the year. Jason's, sitting,
holding the trophy.
Not holding
or you're
the
just passing it to me, maybe?
Why is that got to be a thing? There's a second person.
I think the trophy needs to make its appearance if one of us win it. I think you need to bring it here and hand it to us on the podcast.
Sam has it right now.
I know, but I mean, I'm just saying.
If that were to happen.
If that were to happen.
Okay.
Or when it happens. Or when.
When it happens.
Let's put it out there. But With Q being silent.
What happens if we win again? Do I just keep it? Like, just
You keep it away from us. Yeah.
this is mine. You can't have it.
You can bring it here and we'll put a
Then you can
stamp
spend the
behind
whole
you.
next season talking about your championship on the podcast.
About it being back to back and winning 2 times.
Yeah.
Hey, I mean,
hey,
you got notes to go off of.
History repeats itself.
I like that one. But no, with that being said, y'all stay tuned. We'll be back in the second segment where we're going to kind of go through the divisions a little bit more. We're going to pick our winners. We're going to take a little over-under and look and see how it all comes together. But with that being said, stick around. Welcome back to the second segment. So what we're going to kind of do here is we're going to go through each division. We're going to start with the American League division. We're going to go over each team win total from last year and kind of pick the over-under. And I think all 3 of us will kind of go at it. Mm-hmm. And then we'll sit there and afterwards we'll go through division winners. We'll pick our playoff teams and we're going to pick who we think is going to win it all. But you can't pick your own team.
Okay.
I'm just looking in your general direction because then it looks like I'm looking at both of you.
Well, he turned to me too. So.
But with that being said,
God, I didn't. God, get off my back.
I'm going to have to decide right now who I'm picking.
All right, so let's start with the Kings. Last year, 5 wins. Over under.
I took the over.
You're taking the over?
Yeah.
Okay.
Maybe like 6.
Yeah, I mean, it's always so tough because it's like I did have them as the lowest team in the power ranking, and you want to say that 5 wins isn't enough because teams are so good, but then at the same time teams are so good. But I will take the over under, and my reasoning is I just think that
take the over under.
The over. Shut up. The over. I will take the over. I'll take the over under. I'll take the over because I think it's going to be tight. I think the whole league will be tight, and so that I think some of the top end's going to come down and the bottom's going to come up, and you're just going to have a tight race. So I'll take the over for them.
I'm going to push. I'm going to say 5 on the dot.
Okay.
All right. So same reasoning. I think the way it kind of goes, I think that's where they kind of sit. I hope they go over. Obviously, I want to see a 500 division, like everybody be equally
9 and 8, 8 and 9.
Yeah, I want to see that. I want to see the Rams final years in the playoffs. Kind of teams make a wild card spot. But that's what I'm going to take. I'm going to say 5 wins is where they kind of finish. Mambas, they're up next. 10 wins from last year. Taking the over? Or you taking the under?
Absolutely taking the under.
You're taking the under?
Yeah, I don't think they'll win 10 games again.
Okay. Any reasoning behind that?
I mean, just they don't with the loss of Ryan O'Rear, and I think again, it's just, teams are so good. I mean, we can beat the horse till it's not a horse anymore. I mean,
beat a dead horse. There you go. That's what
beat a dead horse till it's not even a horse anymore. I just don't think 10 wins is a lot. I don't think, again, with how good the teams are now, I think, the Melonheads, we'll get to them later. I think the Kings are going to be better. I think last year the Archers weren't trying to go out and win a bunch of games. They were just trying to get healthy. Well, now I think the Archers are going to go out and try to win games this year. So I think the Moms are going to take a step back.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't know why we're beating off a horse, but no, I mean,
that's not what God said.
No, I'm gonna take the under, but I'm not gonna take it as a knock on the Mambas. I could see 10 wins winning a division this year. I think 10 wins might be your division winners with how tight it is. So I think it's under for that reason.
Okay, I'm gonna take the under as well. There's only 2 ways it can go, right? And I mean, I'm not going to just keep regurgitating. Well,
you made 3 last time.
Yeah, you said push.
Well, I meant...
Go ahead.
I think 5 for the Kings in the division that they're in, and I mean, sorry for backtracking, 5 is a good number for them. That if they hit 5 again...
You just said there was only 2 directions they could go.
I was talking about the Mambas. I wasn't talking specifically about, their... All right. Anyways, so I agree with you. I think 10 wins could very easily be a division winner. I think they sit between that 8 and 10 range, but I mean, I'm leaning more towards that 8 or 9 win range for them this year. So I'm going to take the under. So that brings us to the Archers. I'll start. They had 9 wins last year. Mm-hmm. I think they are the ones that get to that 10-11 win out of this division. I think they have that ability to do so, looking at the schedule that they have and how it's going to kind of fall into play. And if they hit, they're going to be tough to beat. So I'm thinking, taking that over, probably sitting around that 10-11 range.
Yeah, I also had them as an over. I agree. 10-11 wins. They have more pitching. Like I said in the power rankings, more pitching. More bats in the lineup. I mean, the consistent hitting. Whatever. What I said last time, I have them going over the 9.
This is a tough one because I'm. If I say over, it's a very small over, so I almost want to lean push. I feel like.
Only 2 ways you can go.
Well, I mean, you said there's
You
only 2
made
ways.
3.
You said there's only 2 ways to go after making a third way. But either way, the problem is I don't see them as a 500 team, so I don't see them as 9-8. But then I also just said 10 wins could be enough, so I'm like, I'll give them the over, but it's like 10.
Okay. Then we get to the mojo. 14 wins last year. I'm taking the under. And the only reason I'm saying that is because it's tough to win 14 games as it was. Mm-hmm. And your division and your league got a hell of a lot better when it comes to pitching.
Yeah, I'm also going to take the under. Like you said, 14 wins is too many for my 10 wins. So I mean, it's just kind of one of those things. Yeah. It's not a knock on the mojo. It's just I think it's just tighter this year, and so I think 14 is too much for how tight I expect this league to be.
When you play 17 games, it's a lot. It's very hard to win 14 games. So obviously, I'm going with the under.
No confidence in some team.
Yeah, I mean,
we set him up for that. That's
it's okay. No. It's all right. Cam
we're giving honest opinions.
Yeah, it's gonna. 14 is the wins record for a single season by a team in MO WIFF. So I'm just gonna say the under. Yeah,
that's fair. Right.
So who do we think makes the playoffs? Who's going into that division? We're gonna go divide division. We'll go by division. We'll do all American League, and we'll move over to the National League. So
who will make playoffs?
So what team's not going to make the playoffs? Basically,
let's go 1, 2, 3.
We got to pick who's win the division. Yeah.
Who wins the division? Who finishes second? Who's got that third spot?
Yeah, I mean, I can start with this. I mean, I think the Mojo still come out on top. I'll peg them around 11 wins or so. I think you got the Archers sliding in at second around that 10-9 range, and then I had the Mambas sliding in as a wild card. From both sides, so I have 3 teams in each division. Yeah, a real original.
Yeah. Man, this is a tough one. I have.
You can pick your own team to win.
I know. I just the same thing with the power rankings. It's a toss up. I'm gonna just say it. I think we're gonna win the division because not a lot of question marks. Archers at second. Man, Kings and Mambas. I'm gonna say the Kings get third, and I'm gonna say the Mambas get the 4th spot.
Do you put either one of those in the playoffs, or those are your 2 non-playoff teams?
I think Kings make the playoffs.
Oh, I like it.
I think they sneak in the last couple weeks.
Oh, that'd be fun.
I agree with your top 3. I think the Kings are the outside looking in on the playoffs. All right, because of the fact that even if that second wild card comes out of the National League division, I think that's just how that potentially could go. But I mean, I think Mojo are going to win that division, and I think it's going to be a hell of a lot closer than what it was last year. Mm-hmm. I think kind of everybody kind of caught up. Now, don't get me wrong, Mojo didn't just stay pat. Addition from within, having Jaso being there a hell of a lot more. That's like a free agent addition. That's like somebody getting, somebody that's been on the 60-day DL coming off, coming in and going to be able to play now, addition from within. So that's why I think they're going to win that division. I think it's going to be the Archers at 2 and the Mambas at 3, which I mean is pretty much how they finished last year. Archers finished in 3rd in that division. Mm-hmm. So I think the Archers kind of made that jump to where they leapfrog the Mambas this year. And then I think as time goes, Father Time's going to finally catch up. And I think that the Archers have a little bit of that younger core that they can build off of and take that step in the next year or two where they're taking that division.
So you're not saying Rory and Tony are old. You're saying the Mambas are going to get old.
No.
I think he's just working old to the mojo.
What I'm saying is, I didn't even think about Rory and Tony.
I know. That's the thing is, there's a lot of teams on both ends of the spectrum.
I keep looking at the younger cores of each team, right?
Yeah.
That's
there's a lot of players on both ends, though.
Yeah.
That's where we're at in this league right now.
It's Q and Connor. Let's say everybody else retired tomorrow for the Mojo and their roster stands as this. It's Q and Connor. That's it. So I mean that's kind of where I look at it. So who we got coming out of that? If we were to pick one champion from the American League.
One champion,
like a team that would represent if that's how
who's
our
making the
bracket
championship.
Went, if that's how our brackets went for the playoffs, which team out of the American League makes it?
I have a hard time not picking the Mojo, especially if Jaso's there in the playoffs. He's just that type of player that locks in, takes over in the playoffs, and for me, if you look at my power rankings when I went back, I just don't have the Archers that high. I think they're good, but I don't have them that high, and I don't have the Mambas that high, but I put both of them in the playoffs. So to me, the Mojo are clearly the best team in that division. They're definitely fighting to beat them in that playoffs. I think the Mojo have a leg up.
Okay.
God, you guys make me look like shit on this one. I'm gonna have to go with the Mojo once again. I mean, pretty much Jason covered everything. I mean, the Archers, great team. A bunch of younger guys, and I'm picking experience over youth in this instance.
So I'm going to go completely off script here.
Dark horse.
Not
Kings win the division.
No.
Kings win the championship.
No. Wow.
They don't lose a game. They go undefeated.
All right, Brian, make your hot take. Let's go, kid.
Jesus, put me on the hot spot there. I think because of the fact of how the time's going to be and enough time will go, I think the Archers come out of that. All right, just because of the fact that we're going over a whole season to where I think James falters at the beginning, Roy's able to rein in by the time we get to playoffs. And literally, you got somebody that you go toe-to-toe with, heat for heat, against the Mojo, and go with Connor. So the question then drops down to that number 2, whether it is Gus, and you got Gus Tony, maybe Rory finds a fountain of youth and starts throwing harder, when things kind of go different. Or Drew. There's a thing to where I think it would be every bullet in the gun could be matched at that point. Okay, and that's why I think it'd be the Archers. Because like I said earlier,
I like it.
You cannot keep that fire down, and I don't think it's going to. I think it's only going to spread. I don't think it's just going to burn itself out. Run out of oxygen.
All right.
So that's where I think.
That's fun. I like that.
So one thing I want to kind of have fun with here. We don't obviously have it, but I mean,
we don't have fun here.
We don't have it here in MO WIFF when it comes to an actual award for division. But who do you guys think would be the MVP of the American League?
I think it's Jaso this year. If as long as he's here for, say, 6-7 starts, give him 10 games of hitting, 15, 10 to 15 games of hitting. I don't need him to be here every week, but he's just his numbers will be just that good.
Yep.
That for that division, I don't know that there's a single player that could go toe to toe with him. Other than maybe Cole just has a phenomenal offensive year that it's just hey, I purely just respect how well you hit compared to the rest of the league. Other than that, I don't know that there's one individual player in that division that I think stands out the way he can, other than maybe his own teammate Sam Skibby. But let's go somewhere else with it and let's give it to Jaso.
Yeah, I agree with Jason. I mean, you just said that James, who is my cousin for people that don't know this, can go toe-to-toe with Jaso. Jaso is, via the eye test, is topped out at 105, and I've seen on radar he's topped out at 102. James can hit 98. Yeah, I mean, people said that it looks like he's throwing 105, and I've seen it. I mean, he's throwing absolute lasers out there. If you consider 98 to 100, 102, I mean, that's pretty close to miles per hour, but, I mean, you can't see it. And he can hit. People forget that he can hit, and he can hit from both sides of the plate, which not a lot of people in this sport can do. So, I do have him as my American League MVP.
Okay. I'm going to say Cole. Reason being because I think Cole is going to be the glue that holds that Mambas team together. Because it's make or break with Cole. And when I look at an MVP player, I mean, I look at every aspect of it. Now, not just because he's the captain. Obviously he's not the best pitcher on his own team, right? He said that. He's serviceable. But at the same time, he's, in a pitching-heavy league, I get it. But I think if you remove Cole when we look at the end of the year, what Cole does production-wise, I think, you're taking out handful, up to potentially 8 wins out.
Yeah, I would say the only tough side of that is that traditionally in this league, for anyone that doesn't know, if you're not a two-way player, you're behind the 8 ball immediately. And so that, but I did mention, unless Cole is that next step above everybody else offensively.
Which
so we were still in that.
Yeah.
So, I was definitely my pick the same, but you and I had a similar thought there too.
Yeah. All right. Now flip the question. Rookie of the year out of the American League Division.
I think it's gonna be Chandler.
Ooh,
I think it's gonna be Chandler, but I think it's because I think Chandler will surprise people on the mound, which means his numbers will be solid, and then I think that he's got the best chance to come out of the gate and hit, where somebody like James Klein. He's got to learn how to hit in MO WIFF. Yeah. He's going to pitch, obviously. Yep. But if Chandler goes out, if James goes out there and has a 1 ERA, but Chandler's got a 1.5, but Chandler's got 7-8 home runs too, a solid, batting average, I think if he develops as a pitcher to even a decent manner, that he's got a leg up by being a two-way player.
Yeah, I thought I was going to trip you guys up on that. You took exactly my thought, almost word for word how I was.
Some guys know ball.
Ball don't lie. But I think Chandler. I think it's Chandler too. And it's so stacked. It's just it goes off the experience in my opinion. It's just that's strictly what it goes off of. Because I think at the end of the year Wheeler's going to be up there. It's one of the top rookies that we have out of this draft class. Caden's going to be up there as well. And then we got James Klein too. So at the same time, it's going to be one of those things where it may be splitting hairs like we've talked about, but I agree with you. It's going to be. And
I do want to preference because I don't want the text from Josh immediately saying thanks for not picking me for Rookie of the Year. Honestly, to some extent though, Josh is going to have to adapt to hit, which is his going to be his tough side. So if Chandler hits right out of the gate, that's an advantage. But also, some part of offensive stats has to do with the team around you too. Chandler's going to have Cole in front of him getting on base over and over and over again.
Yep.
That's always somebody to drive in, get those RBIs, maybe drive you in later in the game. That's right. I think the stats are more available there for Chandler.
Yep.
I'm going to have to go with James just because pitching is very valuable. And
I was going to say just because he's my cousin.
pitching is very valuable. I know he can hit. I've seen him hit before. He's going to still have to kind of adapt, but not to the extent of, I would say, obviously not Chandler, but to some other rookies. He's not a pure rookie. In the 22 MO WIFF Classic, he had 10 straight at-bats, all of them home runs. And he was 14, 15 years old. Then he got hits off Jordan Robles. He can hit. Is he a consistent hitter? No. But can he hit? Yeah. A dark horse candidate, though, that I have is Ray Jaso. Ray Jaso is...
They picked his cousin. They picked his teammate.
Yeah. Ray Jaso has hits off Will Smithy, who is one of the best players in the world.
I haven't heard that yet.
Yes. And he plays fast-pitch softball, which is not, I wouldn't say close to wiffle ball, but in terms
of the movement and the speed.
The more speed than the movement.
The quick reaction.
Yes, the quick reaction time. And he's been working on throwing. How well he can throw, I don't know. But I do know that he's been working on it. So I think that's another dark horse candidate for Rookie of the Year.
Gotcha. Love it. All right. Let's move on to the National League.
Time for us to have some fun.
Now, time for us.
Melonheads.
Melonheads win 2 games.
We're not there yet. We're higher on the power ranking.
Ain't that the truth? All right, let's start with the Bombers. Over under 8 wins.
Under.
Taking the under?
Yep.
Okay. care to expound? Or
I mean, I have them
under?
at probably like, I would say between I'm going to say under, but probably like 7 or 6 wins. And not because, I mean, they're not like god awful. It's just the division they play in. And I would say the lack of hitting. Cam is a good hitter, but Cam also would probably tell you he did not have the year he would want as a hitter. You know, Cam was the Cy Wiffle last year, and he said on this podcast he was the best pitcher last year. You know, he's not Cam from years past. He's not 2022 Cam. Jason looks like he's about to, like, push me over. But in a division with Dom, Brody, Andrew, Spencer, you know, now Jordan, and then you have Caleb, Colin, Pat, all pitchers, you know. Does Cam have another Cy Wiffle-esque year with all these great pitchers, not even just in the league, in his division alone, and with the lack of hitting? Ethan Weiner's not going to be there all year. So I have them as an under.
All right, so what Q saw actually is it's a really tough debate for me because 8 wins means they lose, 9 games then? And so theoretically, if Cam pitches half the games, you're saying he loses one of them. I think Cam pitches more than half the games, though. That's where I'm torn, is that I want to say under because somebody's got to be at the bottom, but if Cam pitches, 9 of those 17 games, it's hard to not give him wins in a lot of them. Mm-hmm. So that's where I am really torn. I'm going to say under, and I think it could be that Cam loses a few games this year because, like you said, that lineup could be a little shaky, and honestly, on this day, it's hard for me to look at that 2 pitcher and say, which team does that 2 pitcher win the game? Mm-hmm. Honestly. And that's not a shot at any of them, just they have guys that, like I said earlier, they need to step up and take that next step to find success because the league is getting that good. And I think right now, they're looking at 500 at best, because I think Cam right now is the only one that's giving them a good shot to say, yes, I feel confident we can win tonight. And I know they feel differently, but on paper, that's how I look at it. And so then, does Cam win every game he pitches? Probably not. Not if someone doesn't step up as a hitter. I think what you alluded to about Cam struggling last season, Cam is the type of player that wants to step up. Mm-hmm. And sometimes when the players around you are struggling, that stepping up is a step too far, and now you're chasing pitches. You're doing too much because you're trying to win the game for your team, and sometimes that turns into a little too much free swinging. And so that's where I think that offense could really struggle, and I don't think they have a 2 pitcher that can go out there and win a game with an offense that can't score on a consistent basis.
Yeah, they don't have the pitcher on the consistent basis either. With that, kind of what you alluded to, I'm gonna take the under as well, and here's why. And I hate to say it, but we've already said it. So I don't know why I'm struggling to say it. Cam, Ethan, both are gonna hit. Nobody else scares me in that lineup.
Nope.
In all reality, if you wanted to, granted, somebody's going to get into one every once in a while, all right? But it's going to be, can they maintain and keep the confidence to be there, or are they going to get themselves talked out of and coached out of it?
And then
what I mean is the fact that if the pressure arises, and Cam does a lot of in the moment coaching with his team, sometimes it works in his favor, sometimes it doesn't. And that's how it's always been. So it's going to be one of those things. Is it going to be enough to where they break, or they kind of go, where they take that step, or they break and they falter? So it's hard for me to say, but I'm probably going to say the under here. I hope I'm wrong. But at the same time, I think this whole division could very easily end up being a 9-win wins it. A 10-win wins it. 11. Maybe somebody goes on a hot streak, but I'm gonna take the unders to start off.
Yeah, I think this division is just too good.
As much as that's gonna fire him up, and he's gonna use his motivation and bulletin board material, but let's be real. If Cam is doing well in this league is doing well. Period. So that's where we got to be, or not got to be, but that's where I think we're gonna be. All right, moving on to the Purge. 10 wins last year, won their final 7. But I'm gonna start, and I mean this is nothing but love, but I think this is
roster.
We already went over the roster.
Oh.
Yeah, we went over the roster last time. First segment.
I'm still here. That's okay. Dude, my brain.
10 wins, over, under. I'm going to take the under. All right, I do not see this being the year they take the hitting where it sticks and goes and runs. I think they'll go through spurts. But, I mean, when you're winning games and getting into the extra innings where points, where now the win-losses and everything is going to kind of play into effect. I mean, Grant, they had 10 wins. 10 wins is hard to do. Do not get me wrong. But I think I'm going to overall take the under. I think the pitching is going to keep them there. I think the offense overall potentially holds them back.
This is another team that's just like Cam's. It's just one of those things that 10 wins is 2 games over 500.
Yeah.
Like on paper, you look at this team and the talent, you say, how is this team 500? But then also you look at every other team and say the same thing, which then makes me feel like everyone's going to be right around 500. I'm going to say under because, like you said, I think 10 wins could win it, and I don't have the Purge winning it. So that's the deciding factor, I guess. Because I bet on paper, I mean, they're a team, they can do a lot.
I also have the under on this team. I mean, you guys pretty much summed it up for me. I think their hitting will be pretty spotty this season. I don't think they'll take that big step. I said it in the predictions podcast. The one of the best rotations in the league, but they can't hit.
It is interesting that both of you guys are like, I don't think they'll take that step, and then I was like, I think they're taking that step. I was the one who went and said, I think Colin and Caleb are stepping, and you guys are both like, I don't think so.
Well, I mean,
if we can we mark it?
Define step.
Can we mark it at the end of the season? Let's see.
Oh yeah.
Did Colin and Caleb take the step, or did they not? Because I've got them taking it, and you guys said I don't see a big step.
Before we do that,
it's interesting.
Let's define step. What is a step? Like
they hit more than $110 or 25.
Okay, so
where they become someone you say in that lineup is a hitter, not
okay.
Not the guy that's going to run into one.
Now that step is defined. Then okay.
That'll be interesting.
Yep.
That'll be a fun one to look back on.
I think we need to look back on all of this and see how
I'm sure.
we are.
Well, of course we.
That's always true.
That's part of it.
But I thought that one was interesting that we all went. Well, you two kind of sided, but I went kind of firmly a different direction by saying I think they will make that step.
That's why this is fun.
Oh man. Then we get to your melon heads. 3 wins.
Under.
They're gonna win a half game this year. I don't know.
We're gonna tie every game.
Yeah. Oh my god.
We're gonna lose
every game
in home run derby. Every game in a home run derby.
Oh shit, that'd be fun. 3 wins last year. Over. If you don't get over 3 wins with a free agent, I'm going to ask you to resign from being a captain.
I wouldn't, because that would be very sad.
I'd be sad too, but I think you would.
Yes, I also had them as the over.
Yeah, I think it's hard not to take the over there, and it's all pretty
Not
obvious.
really, honest. No, I'm just kidding.
I don't know if it needs a whole lot of description of why we're taking more than 3 wins.
Yeah.
But
No, I mean, just adding Jordan and Ryan. I mean, even the combination of the two being there, even if they're not there on the same weeks.
Yeah, I mean, Jordan's going to win 3 games.
That's what I'm saying. The combination there, they're going to win
Jordan's
4 or
like
5.
4 or 5 wins alone.
Oh, shit. All right, let's move on to the Thunderbirds. Over under 9 wins.
Over.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, I've got the over there also. I think you've got the pitching and the hitting. Yep. So, I mean, I think once again it's going to be that tight race of slightly above 500, and I think the Thunderbirds have that ability to be that team that has, they go out and sweep a couple weeks, and that's all it's going to take. You split every other week and you sweep a couple, you could be winning this division.
Exactly what I was thinking. I'm looking at 10-11. That's where I'm kind of wanting that goal to be. Obviously, I want to win the division, but right there, exactly what you guys said. So, nothing more to add much to it. Obviously, the addition of Brody is that is that the next step, to kind of to move it forward and kind of get over that proverbial hump again. But only time will tell.
Well, and for regular season too, I mean that's a little different. But if we go back to all right, so our playoffs, our records, our order. Yeah. Now that we've said over under, what's our order?
Yeah, that's what I realized. I just started to kind of do. I'm looking at and put it in my head.
Yeah.
Oh man.
You want me to go since I'm not in division?
Yeah, you can start.
Give us time to think,
and then we can beat you up. I mean, go ahead. Give us your honest opinion.
I got the Thunderbirds winning the division. I got Melonhead second. Then I have the Purge at third and the Bombers at 4. I have the Bombers missing the playoffs. The rest making it.
Gotcha. I've said it, the fact that I literally think it's going to be either the Melonheads or Thunderbirds that win the division.
Yeah.
And the other one's going to finish second, so it's going to be kind of right there. And then I've got the Purge making the playoffs just out of pure spite. I mean, pure spite. Jeez, what I mean is, I think it's going to come down to a final.
So you're saying 6th seed?
So yeah, I think that they potentially could be the 6th seed. Them or the Bombers going to be the 6th seed, and I think it's going to come down to a end of the year showdown between the two of them.
So I will agree with the standings. I think I'll give the Thunderbirds that 1 seed, that division. Mm-hmm. I think that they've got the players that, even with keeping people fresh and things like that, they've got the players to win more regular season games, where we may keep a player fresh and it might lose us a game. Mm-hmm. That could happen, and that might be all it takes. And then us at 2. I'll have the Purge at 3, and I have them in the playoffs, but I have them in the playoffs very different than what you say. I think that 6th seed is going to teeter between the Bombers and the Mambas. I think the Purge will be just as solidly in the playoffs as us two, because I think that pitching on a week-in and week basis is just going to be lights out, and I think that is what's going to make it so every week they could sweep at any time. Yeah. And that could be the difference maker. 7 wins in a row last year. That can happen. And so, to me, I see us 3 solidly saying, hey, we're the top 3 teams in our division. And then the question will be is Mambas Bombers for that other one. And then I have the Kings outside looking in.
I didn't think about that.
That's kind of how I see it.
Bombers with that kind of that up in the air. I mean,
so who do we have making the championship from our division?
I'm looking at this kind of setup here. I'm curious, real fast. Never mind, that doesn't matter. But no, the final game of the season, to my eye, I was like, you know what? I think they literally played the final game of the
Bombers
season.
Purge play the last game of the season.
It's gonna be a rematch.
And then but to what I said though, the Mambas have to deal with the Archers, which is a really tough team. So they could, they're gonna need to potentially win that game because one of those 2 teams is going to win, obviously.
Oh, but a closing night, it literally is Thunderbirds Melonheads. So we could be playing for a division title on that night.
We could be.
Mambas, Archers, that
could be the Mambas fighting for their playoff life while knowing the Bombers or Purge, one of them is for sure going to win because they're playing each other. So, I mean, there could be, hey, we look at this every year and say that last week could be really interesting and then it's somehow. It's just like, but I mean, honestly, though, there's been a lot of seasons you get to those last 3 or 4 weeks and you're like, ooh, this is getting spicy. Yeah. Now, it usually seems to resolve itself before that last week, but there's been lots of times that last week has had some kind of implication. But, yeah, so I guess we're back to the who's going to win the championship of this division. Who's making the championship if it played through this division?
I'm not going first.
I'll start. And
I'll pick it out and not go first.
I'll start, and because this will lead into what we're talking about later, potentially. I'm going to put the Purge. Ooh. And I think because at the end of the day, those arms in the playoffs, they've got that Connor Jaso ability. And they've got 2 of them, 3 of them, 3.5 of them, 4 of them. I don't know. They got a lot of them. They got a lot of guys that I think if the Purge are rolling and they get Caleb in that mindset and they get Colin in that mindset.
But can they? There's
always a can there.
Can they?
Can they is always there for everybody.
Yeah,
and so in my eyes, if
you're right.
they have that ability to hit that next notch, so I'm giving it to them because I can't pick myself. I'm not going to pick myself here.
Okay.
I'm not going to cop out.
It's okay. It's okay. I'll pick your team. I have the Melonheads, and I said it about the Mojo, and not because I'm a cop out.
I'm just
because at the end of the day, experience. I mean, 2 seasons ago, this team, Melonheads, won the championship, and I picked experience,
and we were in it the year before.
Mm-hmm.
So just saying.
Right. I pick experience over. Oh, this team has this arms. Oh, Caleb and Colin are elite, and there's no question about it.
Dead horses keep getting kicked.
Yep. I'm just picking experience.
I like the aspect of
pick yourself.
Experience. No,
I'm just kidding.
no, because
I don't care
if
if
that's what we're going to set the expectation, I won't pick myself, and I'll say the Melonhead as well because like we've already said, experience is going to play, and again, like I said from the beginning, if he's got something to play for, he's one of the most scariest people on the plate, and that just could continue to go.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, literally, the more I think about the lineup, the more I'm thinking of shit. You know, when you're literally in any given night could go Jordan over here, Jason, and then I can Loud's batting fourth.
Right.
And that we're not even talking about Bogan.
Yeah.
We're not even talking about Bogan. I mean, that's
Bryson
that's,
or Jimmy or Sasha.
It's
all
not
guys
even fair.
that.
I mean, when you just look at 4, if you're batting 4, but you have tons of fun building that lineup, bud.
It's gonna be fun.
I do not envy you. Yes, sir.
Freaking playoff Jimmy. No one said playoff Jimmy.
I like how you just kept going. Pause.
He said it. He said Jimmy. He told
did.
me he wouldn't say Jimmy.
He finally brought Jimmy up in a positive light.
I love Jimmy.
Since day
I love Jimmy Stout.
Except
No, absolutely. And the only
There was
reason
never any hard
and there was
feelings
no
about that.
shot at him actually putting himself in the championship, but mine will go along with the other question when you ask.
Who wins? I mean, what? So who's MVP of
Well,
the league?
The MVP of our division, I think, is Jordan. And I think it's because Jordan is going to be batting in an incredibly good lineup. And Jordan's pitching is still very good. So there's not going to be a lot of those, oh, Jordan pitched well but lost. You know, I think that you're going to see Jordan have the offensive numbers that he absolutely needs to be at, and his pitching numbers will always be right there near the top. Even last year, they were still near the top, even though they were less. You know, he didn't have the quantity that he's had in the past, but the numbers were still good. So if his offensive numbers are great, I think that gives him the nod.
Okay.
I had Caleb.
Oh.
I had Caleb, and I think it's going to be obviously more because of his arm rather than his bat. I think, he's not going to – I think he'll hit a little bit better than a $110, $120, but I don't think it's going to be like he's always a 250 hitter. I also had another one, and I totally forgot this person was injured. It's you. I had Jason Worsenholm as an MVP candidate as league. Mind you, Jason, you are a top 3 hitter in the history of this league. And your arm obviously may not have been what I would say what it used to be, but you also didn't throw a lot last year. I also forgot you were injured the first couple weeks. But even then, you're still a dangerous bat, and you're still a very good pitcher.
I'm going to go dark horse here. I'm going to say it's Dom.
I thought you were going to say Andrew.
Nope.
I like Dom.
I like Andrew. I think it could be Andrew, but I mean, I'm looking at more of the complete two-way player. Dom's going to pitch more than Andrew, obviously.
Yeah.
Now, if you're looking for the best bat, if we're going Silver Slugger, I think it's Andrew hands down. But I mean, we're talking MVP here. I think it's gonna be Dom. I think he's got the work in. He's been what I've seen already, and what I've seen him be able to do already so far this offseason. I'm looking forward to seeing it translate to the field. I want it to so bad.
I hope so. You're the captain.
Not for my own being the captain, but for him, just kind of his development. I would
that
love
as
to
well.
see that. All right, let's go Rookie of the Year out of the division.
That's a tough one. I'm trying to think of who all is rookies in this division.
So we got Brody, Bryson, Zach Gunn, Blake Hoffman, John Satrowski, and Ben Doolin.
I'm going to give it to Bryson because I think he plays more than a lot of those guys. And I think that he can produce on both sides of the ball. And I think that because of any kind of keeping people fresh for playoffs, he's going to get some innings as well. So he'll get some experience. And I think that he's going to show people that he can pitch pretty well. And then I think his bat is going to translate pretty well. So I think that he'll come out of the gate looking pretty strong. And I think a lot of it is just going to be the fact that he's there from the get-go.
I agree with Jason. I was going to go with Bryson, and I say Bryson because of all the reasons Jason just named, but also because it's his brother Brody won't be there full time. I mean, Brody is.
I would also like to preference that as well.
I mean,
I'm not taking the homer pick. I look at that list and it's a lot of guys that I'm not sure are going to be there and playing week in and week out. And so I think Bryson for the division will be there, and he's going to get a chance to play because we want to see what he can do.
I mean, let's face reality. If Brody was there full time, this whole table would say, "Oh, it's Brody Livingston." I mean, he's played on the big stage. He showed up on the big stage.
I still want to say it. But
I mean, Brian can still say
it. He could, though, in half a season.
I mean, it's possible.
No, I mean, mine's going to be somebody who's going to be there a little bit more. Obviously, I think, but at the same time, I think we're talking 10 games. What would we consider full time? What would you two consider full time? Let's go after that.
I mean, I think 10 games is fair.
I think 10 games is also
I think
fair.
Brody makes at least 10 games.
Okay.
Yeah, and I'm not saying that he's not I'm not even saying he's full time, but I think that you're missing 7 games of stats.
So here's why I say.
So that's why I was,
So that's why
7 games of stats could be a lot if Bryson clicks right away.
So Blake Hoffman's going to be here more than that.
Oh,
All
okay.
right?
I was just about to get to that.
Blake's got that. So that's who my pick is out of it for
pick.
the same reason, and it's not a dig.
Okay,
it's
so
not
I
a
did
dig
not
at my
see.
own
I did
thing.
not know he was going to be here that much.
Yeah, so I mean, he's not that far. He's super committed. He's somebody who's, proven the fact on different levels in different leagues that he can do it. Does the game translate to our style?
Well, he plays at UWIFs,
which
is very similar to our
ball,
style. So,
right?
yeah, I think knowing that he's going to be there more, that's absolutely a good pick because he's got the experience of this style.
I could be wrong, right? These are just predictions, right? We're going to get some right. We're going to get some wrong.
Right.
I could be way off the mark. Maybe he only shows up for 6 weeks.
And that's the thing is, if he shows up for full time,
right?
The only caveat to him could be, where do his stats come from?
So
with Colin, Caleb, Pat all pitching, I get it. They'll work some innings, keep people fresh, but then you're talking about what, Blake going to come in and pitch 2-3 innings? What is he going to do? So I still wonder, is the playing time on that roster as open as it would take to maybe get the stats?
Yeah, you're probably right there.
That would be the
I'm
question.
still going to take him anyways.
All right.
I'm still going to take him.
It's a good discussion. I think it's a great pick. I think it's a good discussion, and a lot of it is stuff we can never answer. So
the wind blows out to right field at Miracle Field.
I wouldn't know. I don't hit it that way.
For the most part. I know. But what I'm
saying
saying
is that why when you hit it to the parking lot, you call it fair?
He beat me to it.
Is that why?
I deserve that there.
Beat me to it, man. Come
I'll
on.
give you a clap there. But him being a left-handed bat, get something on the inside corner, he can just reach out there and get the bat on. It's just going to go. And I mean, just being on the river, that's the downside of being on the river.
Yeah.
But
we play on the mondo. We don't play on the river.
The river.
I'm just kidding.
I could take a 7-iron, hit a golf ball into the river from our field. Dude, it's right there. You know that, right? It's right on the other side of the levee.
Yeah, I just don't think you can hit a golf ball that far.
Anyway, all right. All right, so we've gone over the divisions. We picked, our fun little who we think's going to win. So obviously, who do we have winning it all?
And you can't pick your own team.
And you can't pick your own team. Well, I'll get started because I already kind of alluded to it. If I'm not picking my own team, I'm picking the Purge to win it all. I think that Colin and Caleb, when postseason comes, I think the depth during the season gets them there, keeps them fresh, and then Colin and Caleb get into the playoffs, and they step up, and they're lights out, and they ride that to the Purge winning the championship.
Give me the Archers. I have the Archers. I have the Archers winning it all. And I say that because they now have the depth in pitching. They have Tony, who was great in the playoffs last year. They have James, they have Drew, they have Coulter, and then lest we forget, they have Ethan Bailey, who in the last playoff series was the 2023 championship against you guys. He pitched 7 innings?
It was a dog. He threw 300 pitches.
Right. And I mean,
That
He
kid
can
did
hit-
everything in his power. Everything in his power to get to a game 3.
And you said it earlier, they just have that fire. I mean, losing 2 championships in a row, making 2 championships is hard enough as is. Losing 2 in a row, it's got to sting. You know, Rory may play it off as it's just no big deal, but you know deep down it's hurting, and I think this is the year they finally get over the edge.
I agree. I think it's the Archers.
I knew you were gonna say that. That's what I wanted to say
And
first.
that's you took exactly my whole reasoning too. That's bottom line, which is going to be there. I think when it all said and done, potentially Jay Rich is somebody not potentially in the lineup when it comes to playoff time out of the people that they have. I mean, I could be completely wrong, but if Jay Rich isn't in the lineup, they're doing something right.
Yeah.
And I think it's just going to have the ability to where if they do have to go to a second pitcher, or Tony is struggling, or Rory is struggling on the mound, they've got the ability to shift real quick, and maybe that's something where they don't even start Klein in a playoff series because of the fact he can come in from the gun hot.
That's gonna sound great on video.
So I mean that's just how I think it's gonna be.
Okay, so who do you guys have being the loser in the championship?
The Mojo. Because we all said that we thought
Yeah.
in this hypothetical world
Yeah.
where they come out of each
I said the
side.
Mambas.
In the hypothetical side,
Mambas?
you don't count. In the hypothetical side that they both meet because it goes right through the division.
Right.
Then I have the Mojo losing to the Purge.
I'm gonna go a little bit off script of what I said, obviously because I play on the
I've
Mojo.
changed my mind.
Well, I mean,
Well, he's gonna take his championship completely out of his hands now
Yeah.
at this point. I can respect that.
I had the Purge. I had the Archers beating the Purge.
Obviously, if I got the Archer, I mean, yeah, what do I guess that's the Mambas, right? Yeah, because that's who I had.
Well, they're in the same division.
Doesn't mean they can't be.
Well, yeah, but we were saying that they were feeding from the same place in this hypothetical.
I think
I thought we were playing. Actually, I thought we were doing.
I was
just
actually-
thinking because
I was doing that different.
well, when you
Oh, I
put
did
the
that differently.
Archers winning that whole thing, then you went through their division. Why did we change it now?
because
this is a different part.
I was playing actually to how it potentially play out because we're not in division. We haven't a division winner.
Oh,
and a
that's
division
fine.
loser.
I was just confused because the original format was through the division
Yeah,
to get to the championship.
I see where you got confused
Oh,
there.
So that's how I stayed
I
that
actually
way.
played
But either way, I think what I said is fair. The Mojo.
But that's yeah. So I mean, I'm gonna stick still with my Mambas because that's realistically something that can happen currently.
All right.
I don't like it. I'm not gonna lie. I think we literally need to stick to our own damn divisions. Literally have a playoff series be the second in the wild card out of the division. And I mean, I get why we don't. I understand it.
I
But
think
at the same
if
time-
we could have a season where everybody proves that they're competitive,
Yeah.
they're dedicated, then we could start talking about that. But yeah, I mean, it's the simple fact of we don't want a situation where a team that is not on par with the other teams makes the playoffs, which is why we do it the way we do it.
and that's why I say I get it. I mean, it's just
We don't need another Empire situation where they won 4 games and made the playoffs.
And then we beat the snot out of them in the first round. It was silly.
That was bad. That was terrible.
Poor Sam.
It's okay. He
Oh,
won
man.
championship next year.
Yeah, he did.
so. I think we get time to get on to some awards.
Let's do it.
All right, we'll be right back with the third segment. We're going to go over awards and kind of who we feel is going to take those home. That should be a nice. All right, now it's time for a little fun for our third segment here. We're going to go over the awards. So these are awards that we had last year. So if there are any new awards we decide to give out, obviously we're not there yet and we don't know. There probably won't be, but you never know. But let's start with character of the year. Who do we have as even? I mean, unfortunately, 3 candidates right here. Alex Eggert's a candidate again. Who else do we potentially have out there that could win this award?
Well, you kind of throw me off by saying who else. I've already won the award, so I was taking myself out, assuming I can't win it again. And I mean, if I were voting, I'm voting for you guys for this podcast because I think that this has really gotten the league going, and I think that everybody recognizes how important it is. But if you're going to make me choose someone else, that could be tough. But I think it's going to come down to somebody that shows up to the park, helps out, sets up, they're late, whatever it might be. I mean, man, there's a lot of guys that really do a lot for this league.
For sure. I got, you know what? I'm going to say it's Wheeler.
Oh,
There you go.
I could see that.
I'm gonna
I could
throw
see
the
that.
dart in the board right away.
I can see that. He's
thinking
expressed
Wheeler.
his interest.
Oh, yeah.
He's expressed his interest in really helping out and being a part of the league. I could see that for sure.
I said us three as a part of the 3 Up 3 Down podcast crew, and people that don't know, Jason is very much involved behind the scenes, and especially in terms of not just MO WIFF content in general, this podcast alone. And I think in all reality, us three, we've kind of rejuvenated that off-season content. We went from having a podcast a month to a podcast a week.
I can see Tom getting some votes too.
I could also see Tom getting a lot of votes.
Yeah, Tom does a lot for bringing in revenue for us to afford the things we have and to play where we play and play with what we play. So
and a lot of people don't know that.
Yeah, so Tom is definitely a big push to get our sponsors.
For sure.
A lot of our sponsors come through him. So you could definitely go that route. There's a lot of people that really do help out, and that seems to be the direction that Character of the Year goes for, is the person going above and beyond to help the league. Yep. So I hit that's gonna be a tough award to pick this year, hopefully, because that means everybody's buying in and really into it. Spencer was a guy that started showing up a lot last year too. So and some of these guys that just like to show up and hang out, that turns into a little bit bigger role.
And let's clarify something. Maybe I'm sharing a little self aggravation here, but you can almost count on one hand how many people stayed all night, stayed to the end, helped cleaned up every night when others just leave. If you're there at the end of the night, just grab something, help pick it up. It's not hard. Even if it's just carrying just one little thing, just do your part. Just kind of helps all the way around. Because there's times we're at the ballpark 45 minutes longer than we need to be, just because of the fact of cleanup.
As somebody, now last year I definitely slacked off, but the first 3 seasons, every week, open to close, every week, highlight videos, and honestly, I'm not a person that cares about the pat on the bat. Yeah. What I'm saying is when you are that person that helps roll up the fence, helps pick up the wiffle balls or whatever, helps clean up the cameras, helps whatever it is to help, even if it's just one item, it does go a long way for those people that are there every single week to see that, hey, the last team that played that night stuck around to help clean up.
Yep. So, sorry to go off on a little tangent there.
No, I think it's a good one. I think it's warranted.
I want that voice to be heard there. Golden Hands. So the
Greg Maddox Award.
I originally was going to say Saggio here. I was going to say this is the year he wins it. But obviously with him being out a little bit here,
could be tough missing.
I think could be tough. And
especially because we play like the first 3 or 4 weeks. So he's going to miss all of those
Plus the fact
games.
if he's really got if that disc is really that bad in his back, I don't see him laying out for balls. So I think this award comes down to, again, for the umpteenth millionth time in a row, I think it's either going to be Cole or Sam. And I can't pick one. So I'm going to say Cole Skibby.
That's a person?
It is now. It's a combination of...
I picked Cole, and you forget to put in Rory, who's...
shit, I forgot about Rory.
Well, I was actually getting ready to say, since you guys are both picking Cole, I'll pick Rory to be a little bit different. But then Q came swinging. He wanted to beat everyone to it again.
Some people know ball.
I mean, hey, I was in the top for putouts last year at some point there. Yeah. I don't know what I did to not get it, but
I said Cole just because there's not. I would say they don't have that overpowering pitcher like the Mojo have. Connor, Gus, Jack, and then Sam does pitch a lot, so he does make a lot of great plays as a pitcher. I've seen him pitch and then go like this and catch a ball. So, but I just think because Cole doesn't pitch a lot, and I've seen Cole make crazy plays. I think there's a lot of hits when those pitchers they have that are on the mound.
Okay.
Well, I was going to say Rory to be different, but then I think Q might have convinced me that it is Cole because, James Klein is going to be potentially a 1-2 balls in play kind of guy. Mm-hmm. And then, Tony's got the ability to shut people down. We don't really know what Drew's going to look like on a MO WIFF mound yet, but he looks like he could be another guy that can really limit the offense. So, maybe it is Cole or I hate to say it, it could be Cam. In that game, too, whoever's pitching, if they're getting put in play, Cam, the double play specialist.
Yeah.
I mean, as long as he can keep himself out of the error category, not that he has problems with errors, but sometimes that one error might be all it takes. So if he can keep himself from that one error, I mean, there might be just enough balls in play in that second games to really make that happen for him.
Okay. Let's go manager of the year.
I want to go first. I had Ken/Nick Bone on this one. I said earlier, I think the Kings sneak into the playoffs, and I don't know how that would work because they're like co-managing. You know, you got like the general manager and then the on-field manager. So I just said Ken/Nick Bone. I think it's, I guess, a combination of both. I just, because they sneak into playoffs, you know, they had the number one pick, and if they sneak into playoffs, that means their number one pick, Josh Wheeler, and then you have, you know, James and then Drew. They were good. They did good.
Well, Jimmy said that I won Manager of the Year before the season even started by signing O'Rear and Jordan. But that kind of feels like a cop-out because obviously still got to play the games. And to some extent, that puts the expectations so high for our team, it's hard to live up to it. So because... I'm going to go Tom.
Damn it.
I'm going to go Tom. But I've been big on the Purge in this podcast, having a good season. And so if they show out and show up, I think Tom maneuvering that staff, maneuvering that team, and leading them in a positive direction, I'll give it to Tom. But honestly, every team has such big rosters at this point. I think a lot of captains are going to have to make good choices that we don't see coming yet. And so I think that there's going to be a lot of variation as it goes. But if you made me sit here today, which you are, I guess I'm going Tom. I got to pick Tom.
You begged to be here. You've been scheduled since February for this.
Oh, yeah.
Tom was originally who I was going to say, but I got time to think about it and kind of based off everything.
He's picking himself.
I'm not picking
after he makes the hard decisions that no one believed in him for.
You know, man. I wish I would have prepped that. Oh, shit. I ought to start campaigning now. At the end of the year, obviously, I'll speak for the both of us. I think both of us would love to be because we both have full rosters. We both know the what the decisions that are coming down the pipe we're going to have to make. But at the same time, I think that because I said it earlier, kind of based off everybody else. We talked about it. I think if Cole keeps...
I knew it! I knew it!
I didn't want to... Dude, it is what it is.
I think you guys are in similar paths there. Yeah. You've got a dark horse sneaking into the playoffs, and that's going to win the manager.
Did you hear me say he's going to pick either Cole or Kim? I'm glad that you heard that.
Jesus.
Fair enough.
Anyways. All right, let's go.
Let's get to the real awards.
Let's go to the most improved.
I had Michael Dobb.
Oh.
I had Michael Dobb, too. I literally had Dobb as well.
I think Michael Dobb is going to make the key adjustment this year, and I think he's going to be a better hitter.
I'm going...
He's actually going to hit. That's what I was going to say.
I
think he's actually going to hit this year.
I'm going Spencer Foss because I think he's going to hit this year. I think that his hitting stats last year, no offense, were so poor that if he puts it together as a solid hitter this year, that's going to put him right in the running for most improved. What I would love to see is one of these guys that, in all honesty, was a fringe being in the league guy, step up. And I think we saw that with Justin Hall in his second season. He was kind of one of those guys that as a pitcher, he wasn't really throwing strikes. As a hitter, he wasn't really doing anything. And then all of a sudden, last year, which is why he won it, dude was lights out. So I would love to see another one of those guys that kind of was on that edge of, man, can he figure it out? Where Spencer's already got the pitching. So he's already, hey, this is a good player. I'm still picking him because I think his hitting is going to be good this year. But I would love to see somebody surprise me with this one.
Me too.
That's always fun. I like when people improve and surprise everyone and get better.
I mean, Crosley won it 2 years ago.
Yeah, he went from not showing up to showing up. Most improved.
That's a category. I Connor J. So that's that out. No, man, I'm gonna stick with Michael Dobb. I think just the kind of. I know the fact that mentally last year was a lot of taxing on him. Yeah. I mean, it's kind of taxing on him, and it would just be one of those things where I think putting it together and kind of being with Cam and with Ethan and kind of helping him through that, I think he'll do a lot of good things.
And
So
they
I
get
wouldn't-
opportunities.
Yeah. Oh yeah. He's definitely gonna
He'll earn those opportunities.
He's definitely gonna, if he's start doing it, he's gonna earn it, and that confidence is gonna build and build and build and build and build. But yeah, I also like Johnny Gunn here, even though that's not a far stretch.
You guys like a lot of bombers, huh? So you guys,
I just think that.
you guys ragged on them in the power ratings, but you're all like, yeah, these guys are going to be the best players.
Big difference in there's big difference in
just
individual
kidding.
achievement versus
always had
team
one bomber.
cohesiveness and how it comes together. So that's something that I kind of feel there.
But what's interesting, though, is from my perspective, it is only going to take one player stepping up for Cam and the Bombers to succeed. Because I think Cam has shown that if he can get that one supporting guy, they're a good team.
Right.
So, it'll be interesting.
Let's go Silver Slugger.
Hi, Jason.
Oh.
I think in a lineup with Ryan and Jordan, I think people will kind of forget. I wouldn't say necessarily forget. I think they'll try and pitch around Jordan and Ryan, and then that adds more people on base, and then here comes Jason Worsenholm, and he's going to drive in a lot of runs this year.
So I like that idea.
I was going to say Ryan O'Rear with the exact same reason, because they're going to pitch around Jason. They're going to pitch around Jason, pitch around Jordan, and it's going to make O'Rear be the one to be able to come up and be the forceful one.
So really what we're saying is the Melonheads lineup's going to be really good.
I said that in my
we've already
power
established
ranking.
Oh, okay. I was just
I
making
said
sure.
that.
I just wanted you to say it again.
Who are you picking?
Well, I'll go away from my team since you guys both picked on my team. And let's go with... Let's go with Andrew.
I like that pick.
I think Andrew has been underrated, and I think this team around him is going to give him the chance to really show up and focus on hitting and hitting alone. He's not going to have to gas himself on the mound as much this year. He'll be able to just go up there and swing the bat and have some fun. And Andrew's one of those guys that swing the bat and have some fun is dangerous.
Yeah, I'll agree there.
So let's give Andrew the Silver Slugger.
I like how we've kind of stayed away from picking people off our own teams and stuff. Respectfully, not the homer pick. I'm not looking
Anyways.
at you. I'm looking at you, Jason. Anyways, so let's get to Cy Wiffle. Even though I think we need to change it to pitcher of the year, because Cy Young was an actual person, just like the comment said, and it got me thinking that's very accurate. So, but anyways, I digress. Who we got being the best pitcher in the league?
So one trend in, so another one can begin. Connor Jaso. I think Connor Jaso, in terms of talent and stuff, he's the best pitcher in the league. If he can actually show up and pitch the way we know how he can pitch, I think it's going to be pretty unanimous.
I'll let you go here because I feel like I have a little bit of a long-winded answer.
I mean, Connor, if he's going to show up more than whatever. I mean, ball don't lie when you throw 102.
I don't think he's not gonna pick Connor.
No, so
that's why I'm saying it. I'm getting it done out of the way. I pick Connor.
No,
Bam.
so my long-winded answer is that Cy Wiffle is an interesting award in our league because
it's a popularity contest.
no, it's a you have to be elite, obviously, but your team also needs to need you because if you are on a team that's deep, you don't have to pitch as much, which means your stats aren't as good. And so, therefore, I have to look at what team is going to rely on the arm that could be elite.
Situation.
And now, there's a caveat to this because I have 3 picks for this.
We got to pick one.
I will explain all of my thoughts here. My first initial pick is that this is a Cam Smith Cy Wiffle year again. And the reasoning is that the only chance they really are going to have to be a playoff team is Cam Smith going out there and pitching 10, 12 games of their season. And if Cam Smith can pitch 10 or 12 games, he's probably going to have incredible stats. Now, the other side of that, though, is there are 2 people that are very, very talented on teams that I believe have captains that may side on the side of let's try and win an award. One of those being Connor Jaso. Doug and Connor's personality, they will absolutely win an award in the process of winning their division, trying to win a championship. They will absolutely try to win an award. So then it comes down to how often will Connor be there. The other person I have in that same note is Colin Wilkerson.
Ooh.
And I think Colin, he's in a situation where he may not have to pitch as much, but I could totally see him and his dad being like, hey, I'm stepping up this year. I'm all about it. Pushing to the next level. Cy Wiffle, Colin Wilkerson.
Ooh, I love the closing. I love it.
That's
I
hot.
do want to say this.
He's hot. What?
Oh. Wow.
Best looking guy in the league. That was the award, right?
That's the next one.
Oh, okay. I already answered it.
I'm just kidding.
I'll put a play for Dom there too.
Dom is a good looking dude.
We forgot
That'll be
to
next
mention-
podcast. Top 5 best looking guys in Mo Wiff. So I'll see you guys next week.
We forgot to mention Caleb. I mean,
Did we? No, I'm kidding.
yeah. I mean,
No, I mean, hey, I agree.
Forgot about Dre, right?
But what I'm saying, I thought about that, but I think Caleb would be more of the one that they say, hey, let's rest you. Where I think Colin is just gonna. I just have this. Colin's locked in this year. I just have it.
I could totally see
And
that.
I think him locking in will get Caleb locked in, so then they get into that playoffs lock in.
Them two will be some of the most
That's-
competitive teammates.
That's
against
what
each
that's
other.
that's
more
that's the
anybody else.
direction I see this year is Colin locks in, that locks Caleb in, team follows with.
I just want to say Caleb last year was second in strikeouts, as I have it pulled up right here, with 94 in 2024. And in 2023, he led the league in strikeouts with 134. Next closest was Jordan Smith, who won the Cy Wiffle that year with 115.
Something to be said for that.
Start. One whole start worth of strikeouts.
Mm-hmm. We forget to mention that.
Well, I mean, hey, we've mentioned a million times that there's about 100 players in this league, even
Right.
though there's not, but that are extremely talented players. So, I mean, you are picking from the best of the best here, and
Yeah.
we've all proved our point, I guess.
All right.
So the granddaddy of them all is MVP. Who we got?
Again, I'm gonna go with Connor. I mean, call it a cop out, call it whatever it is. I mean, he was ranked number 1 last year, pitcher, via all the captains. I picked him for Cy Wiffle. I'm picking him for MVP because I said it in the predictions and the power rankings. He can also hit the ball. I mean, in a lineup with Sam, Gus, Jackson, those 3 alone will make our elite hitters. And then if you're rounding out a 4-man lineup with Connor, you're going to probably pitch around those 3 guys, and you're going to bring up Connor, who can hit,
Right.
and as well as his dominant pitching. He's just my MVP.
Okay, Jason.
This will be the one time I do cop out. And it's because I alluded to it in the other part. I think this is a Jordan Smith MVP season. I think he gets right back to it. I think that his hitting will be back at that top tier, best hitter in the league type situation. And I think he's still going to pitch enough that he's going to have the stats to back up both sides of it. And so I got to go back to, not even that he's on my team, it's more that it's the tried and true. I think Jordan's right back up there at the top of his game.
It's kind of refreshed. Were you ready to go? I'm going Roy. Just because I think when we're talking the most valuable player. All right, obviously, when we talk Connor being the full timer with a bunch of part timers, he will potentially be the most valuable on that team. But if anybody's going to go out there and win it, it's going to win it and deserve that award. It's going to be Rory.
This is the age-old argument of what makes value.
Yep.
Of you are kind of valuing what is his value to his team,
Correct.
and or the other side of it is what is his value in numbers.
Yeah.
And that's always the discussion of how do you rank who is more valuable, and that's real sports have the same issue.
Because let's call it what it is. Say Rory gets hurt. Gotta hope not, right? But let's say Rory's out, misses an extended amount of time. Who leads that team?
I mean, I don't
Who's
think
the next man up on that
anyone
team?
on that roster can pound the ball into the shortstop like Rory can.
You might be right, but you know what? Still, sometimes that ball gets through, and I mean, hell, that's why he hits the way he does. But no, what I'm saying is you got the mojo. Say Connor goes out, you got Sam that fills in that back hole. Say you go out, you got Ryan and Jordan. Say I mean, not that you say
Brian Hunter's
no,
out.
That's not what I'm saying.
Who fills it as manager?
Say Andrew goes out. Who fills in? You know, there's somebody that can always step up and be that next man up and be a leader. I'm not saying that Tony and Jay Rich can't. Bailey's not going to be there all the time. Are one of these kids going to step up and do it? Do they have the buy-in? That's why I think it's going to be Roy.
Okay.
That's why I chose Roy at least. But,
fair enough.
All right.
But no. Anything else that we haven't talked about that we could think of? I think we covered a lot of topics today. We said a lot of different things.
Yeah, I think at this point we kind of are just
do we want
beating off the horse.
Do we want to?
Why do you want to say it again?
Do we want to pick our actual championship predictions with everything on the table?
No, because we know you're going to pick you, I'm going to pick me, and he's going to pick himself.
All right.
That's exactly how that would go down. Because
Picking
that's
the
how we
Kings.
should all want it to be.
If I was actually going to pick you beating us.
Wow, no confidence. Can't even win a championship.
Yeah, I know, right?
Can't even win back-to-back.
What losers?
No,
all we got to do is win 4 games, and we know we did better than the last champion.
Oh, that math.
That is fair.
Oh, man. Last podcast before the season starts. We started this night. One of those things we're all excited. Now, I think, as the time has gone, it's kind of the realization set in. We've had some pretty detailed thoughts going through this. And I'm ready to go out tomorrow morning. I wish it was tomorrow so we could start.
Yeah.
Yeah, last podcast before the season starts sits a little different than season
it
starts
does.
in 2 days. I don't know. That word just, get you going.
We created some good content, though,
Yeah.
throughout this offseason here, I think. Or at least I feel. Maybe I'm a little biased.
We've talked to every captain. We've had good interviews with non-captains like Sam, Justin, Brody, James,
Alex.
Yeah,
Alex was a good interview. I like
obviously, there's Josh Wheeler,
Yeah, not mentioning everybody, but
Not
there's been a lot.
mentioning everybody. There's been a lot.
Yeah. No, and I think that's where there's a little hats off to you guys. You guys have taken the podcast, which was kind of just a discussion between 1 or 2 people, 3 people sometimes, and you guys have turned it into a whole thing. And it's really getting to show what the league looks like off the field.
Yep.
And I think that's a lot of fun and something we haven't really had. And I think that's going to translate into people that see this podcast becoming fans of teams. Not just because they know somebody, not just because, this team's got a cool jersey. You might get to know somebody through a podcast, almost on a personal connection in a way. Right. And now you're like, hey, I like that guy. I want to cheer for that guy. And so it's creating a different layer to this whole league.
I like that. Very well said.
Yeah, I'm good at that.
Q, you got anything to add before we sign off here?
No.
Okay. Hope you guys have enjoyed the content and everything. If not, I apologize. Let us know how we could have done better. We could have done that weeks ago, but it is what it is. But no, man, make sure everything that we got going on, you smash that like and subscribe button so that way you're up to date with all the content we got coming. The plan this season is to lay it on thick. And I mean, just kind of have content every day for us to be able to kind of watch to. A lot of people doing a lot of different things, but it's going to be all for the better and for your guys' enjoyment. So for the 3 Up 3 Down podcast, signing off. You guys have a great night. We'll see you up at Miracle Field.
Peace out, ball, bro.